Well, we got introduced to Aristotle's life and works, and we also understood that Aristotle's Poetics is a very important work which helps us understand the theory of poetry. It is the scientific study of poetry. Aristotle's Poetics contains 26 small chapters. Let's try to understand the structure of this book firstly. Of course, we are going to understand only chapter 6 to 10 from this particular work. But we should be familiar with the book. There are 26 small chapters in Aristotle's Poetics. The first 4 chapters and 25th chapter of this particular book are devoted to poetry. Means in the first 4 chapters and chapter number 25, Aristotle talks about poetry. The fifth talks about comedy, epic, and tragedy in general, in a general way. There is no specific remark. And after that, the following 14 chapters, chapter 6 to 14, we can say, are exclusively devoted to tragedy. Means from chapter number 6 to 14 of the book Poetics, Aristotle talks about tragedy. The next 3 chapters are devoted to the discussion on poetic diction. Okay, means chapter number 15 to, let's say, 17. Then chapter number 18, the next chapter, is about epic poetry. Okay. And the last chapter has a comparison of epic poetry and tragedy. So this is how we understand the structure of Aristotle's Poetics. Okay. And this is how the chapters were planned. Now, what is the main concern of Aristotle in his Poetics? So as you can see, that Aristotle's main concern seems to be a tragedy, because this was the most developed form of poetry during Aristotle's days. It was considered to be the most developed form of poetry. Apart from tragedy, there were poetry, comedy, and epic. And they come in for consideration because a discussion of tragedy would be incomplete without reference to these genres or these forms. Okay, poetry is the parent. Comedy and epic are sister forms. You need to understand. Means tragedy is a kind of poetry. Again, I would like to tell you, don't take the meaning of poetry as simply poetry. It stands for literature. So tragedy is a type of literature, and comedy and epic are its sister forms, co-forms, we can say. So a discussion would be incomplete without referring to poetry, comedy, and epic. Therefore, he brings in the discussion of these forms as well. So in Aristotle's view, meter, but we know iambic pentameter, then dactyl, spondy, all these are types of meter. You must have studied them in literary criticism of TYBA, but still I have given the information about meter and all in the discussion of a background topics. If you have missed the lectures, please go through your canvas codes wherein all these things are available. So meter is a kind of rhythm, use of particular rhythm, means what we call stress, unstressed syllables, etc. So according to Aristotle, meter or verse means poem. You need to understand, verse stands for poetic language, poetry. Alone is not a distinguishing feature of poetry, means literature. Means literature, all literature is not written in meter or verse. Means whatever is available in meter or verse should not be called poetry or imaginative literature in general. Means even scientific and medical treatise means writings, certain documents, scientific documents, medical documents can also be written in verses, in poetic language, in the form of poem. So here we need to understand Aristotle's view that every verse cannot be referred to or called poetry. So what Aristotle says, I have quoted here. I shall quote it. Quote, even if a theory of medicine or physical philosophy be put forth in a metrical form, it is usual to describe the writer in this way. Homer and Empedocles, however, have really nothing in common apart from their meter. So that if one is to be called a poet, the other should be termed a physical rather than a poet, a physicist rather than a poet, unquote. So look, you need to understand Aristotle's view here. Of course, this was not said in English. Aristotle talked about it in Greek language, and this is the English translation. So what he said, what distinguishes is the quality of the work. Homer was the poet and Empedocles was the physicist, a person belonging to medical field or science field. Is that clear? So there should be the difference. Then the question is, if meter verse does not distinguish poetry from other forms of art, how can we classify the form of poetry? Then how to distinguish, how to classify poetry? So Aristotle classifies various forms of art. For classifying these forms of arts, he takes help of object, medium, and manner of their imitation of life. If tragedy is the imitation of life, it imitates life by using three things, three aspects, that is object, medium, and manner. We shall talk about this. What means if literature or poetry is an imitation, it is an imitation of life and it has a particular object of life to imitate. So firstly, he talks about the object of imitation, then the medium of imitation and manner of imitation. Now let's try to understand what is this object of imitation. By object, he understands or he explains which object of life is imitated. And this imitation of the object of life determines the form of literature. What object?
Hello, sir.
Yes. What object?
You are not audible.
Yes. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, which object is imitated? That determines the form of literature. Okay. Means if the life of great people is imitative, it will make that work a tragedy. Means if the life of great people is imitated, that work is called tragedy. And according to Aristotle, he is taking into consideration the scenario, the society of his period, of his day. And if the life of mean people, means mean in a sense, ordinary people, very common people, is imitated, it will make the work a comedy. This is a very simplified distinction between tragedy and comedy. Tragedy is an imitation of the life of great people. Whereas, according to Aristotle, we are talking about Aristotle's views here. So we should have that at the back of your mind all the time. And comedy is the imitation of the life of common people or mean people, we can say. Mean means here trivial, very ordinary people. David Deutsch is one of the literary critic, British literary critic, and who is well known for his history of English literature. His books are available in different volumes. He has written many books on the history of literature, and these books are available in different volumes. For example, the history of literature from medieval period, then Elizabethan period, like this. Okay, volume number 1, volume number 2, volume number 3 are available in our library as well. So David Deutsch writes explaining the classification of poetry by taking this imitation into consideration. He refers to Aristotle. So what he says, I quote now. This is quote, means his words I'm using. I say quote, then unquote. Unquote means I stop quoting that. We can classify poetry according to the kinds of people it represents. They are either better than they are in real life, or worse or the same. One could present characters that is on the grand or heroic scale, or could treat ironically or humorously the petty follies of men, or one could aim at naturalism, presenting men neither heightened nor trivialized. Tragedy deals with men on a heroic scale, men better than they are in everyday life, whereas comedy deals with the more trivial aspects of human nature, with characters worse than they are in real life. Unquote. I was reading the words of David Deutsch. So he used this classification in his words. So what Deutsch says, we can classify poetry according to the kinds of people it represents, means according to the imitation, objective imitation. Means they are either better than they are in real life. For example, you watch Hindi movies. You come across a hero, with a great sense of sacrifice, very generous, and you think that such a person is unimaginable in real life. They are better than real life, or they can be worse. For example, we see villains in movies, in TV serials. Do you think that such kind of people are there in real life? So they can be worse, or sometimes they can be the same people. Reality means as we are. If you watch typical Bollywood movies, I mean to say, Hindi movies or Marathi movies or Indian movies, let's say, you will come across a hero with a very generous nature. So you think, no, it is not possible in real life. Or you come across a villain, a very worst villain. So then time as I say, no, how can such a person exist on this earth? And if you watch some movies of Amol Palekar and others, if you are familiar with, they appear like the people from common life. So these are the three categories. An imitation of real life but in a better manner, an imitation of real life but in a worse manner, and an imitation of life in a natural manner. So the characters in such works represent, for example, better than real life. The works which imitate or represent better than real life, they are in real life, are the characters in a grand or heroic scale. And worse, they can be humorously or ironically full of follies mean mistakes, or they can be naturalism. Just now I said, neither heightened nor trivialized. So tragedy, when we talk about tragedy deals with men on a heroic scale. They've got great qualities. They're better than they are in everyday life. And comedy deals with more trivial aspects of human nature, with characters worse than they are in real life. So if you watch tragedies, you realize that, and if you watch comedies, then also you realize that. Keep Hindi movies in your mind while understanding this theory. After talking about the object, Aristotle talks about the medium. What sort of medium is used to imitate life? Okay, so this medium again determines the forms of different arts. For example, the painter uses the colors. A musician will use the sound, but the poet uses the words to represent life. And when words are used, how they are used and in what manner or meter they are used further classifies a piece of literature in different categories as a tragedy, a comedy, or an epic. Okay, we understood that a poet uses words. The medium of imitation for a poet is words. He imitates life by using language, words. But how these words are used, the manner decides what kind of poetry or what kind of literature or literary piece it is, whether it is a tragedy or a comedy or an epic. So the types of literature, according to Aristotle, can be distinguished according to the medium of representation as well as the manner of representation in a particular medium. The manner is also important. Now, the difference of medium between a poet and a painter is clear. We understood that one uses colors and the other uses words with their denotative, connotative, rhythmic, and musical aspects. If you have studied some semantics last year in your paper 3, you must have learned the terms like denotative and connotative, especially in G3, I mean to say, general paper 3. You studied semantics. Semantics is the scientific study of meaning in language. And the words can be denotative or connotative. Denotative means, for example, I'll tell you, when I say a wolf denotes an animal. But if I use the same term to talk about a man, okay, his friend is a wolf. That wolf connotes cunningness. So that is connotative meaning. Okay, then it has the rhythmic and musical aspects as well. So in a poem, we come across the use of rhyme, rhythm, alliteration, sound devices, okay, repetition of sounds, consonants, vowels, etc., stressed, unstressed syllables, and music is created. So this is how we understand the manner in which language is used, whereas the poet uses forms and colors. So similarly, the tragedy writer, the tragedian, may make use of one kind of meter and the comedy writer may use another kind of meter. Another aspect of imitation is manner. So in what manner the imitation of life is presented, that makes the difference. That distinguishes one form of literature from another. Means I'm going to talk about the definition of tragedy given by Aristotle. Then time we shall talk about these things again. You may find or you may think that it is a kind of repetition, but the things are bound to be repeated. Means how is the serious aspect of life is imitated? How? What is used to imitate, that is medium. And how is it imitated? For example, dramas are always presented in action, while epics are always in narration. This is the manner. Narrative form is used in epics. Epic, in the definition itself, we understand. Epic is a long narrative poem. So, manner is narration. Narration means storytelling. A writer narrates. When you read Milton's Paradise Lost, you will understand. It is in a narrative form. Whereas drama, when you read The Merchant of Venice, it is not a narration. It is presented in the form of action. A dialogue takes place between characters, and through the action, the story is presented. So in this way, the kinds of literature can be distinguished and determined according to the techniques they use, they employ. Again, I would like to quote David Deutsch here. Quote, the poet can tell a story in a narrative form and partly through the speeches of the characters, as Homer does, or it can all be done in third-person narrative. The story can be presented dramatically with no use of third-person narrative at all. Unquote. So what Deutsch says here, the story can tell us, the poet can tell a story in a narrative form, means he can narrate. Of course, there can be some dialogues in the story, as Homer does it. Or if you read Paradise Lost or some other poem, Shakespeare's poem, you may come across these kind of dialogues in their poems. Or sometimes third-person narration can be used. Okay. Third-person narration, I have already talked about these things in terms and concepts. Please revisit them every now and then. Underline, take notes, and when you think that you are unable to understand it, go back to your notes. And the story can be presented, not narrated, in the form action on the stage, dramatically. So there is no use of third-person narration. Now I'll tell you third-person narration is a kind of narration in which he, she, it are used. One day the king was passing by the road. Once upon a time there was a king. He was passing by the forest, passing through the forest. Then he saw a beggar. So this is a third-person narration. He. Okay, a beggar was a lady. She was in a very pathetic condition. We are talking about different people, not about us. That is third-person narration. So a story can be presented in a narrative form. So this is how we understand that poetry is an imitation, and this imitation is achieved or in the form of object, medium, and manner. So these are three important aspects that we need to understand, which help to classify the type of literature that we study.